you're listening to the Curator's Salon. I'm Geeta Joshi, and today my guest is Lauren Baker. Welcome, Lauren.
Hi, welcome to. Thanks for coming to my studio.
It's so cool. So let's start right at the beginning. When did you become an artist, or how did that even happen for you?
So I've been an artist for the last 7.5 years, and it all happened very suddenly. So before this point, I did a degree in business mixed with psychology and sociology, and then I spent 7 years working in marketing and event management, and I just got to this point where I felt like everything was a bit soulless and I was searching for meaning in life, and that's when I picked up a book called The Power of Now. Have you read it?
No, I haven't read all of it.
Really special, amazing book, a spiritual text by Eckhart Tolle, and it's about living in the present moment. And as soon as I turned the last page of that book, it was this, I just had this inner knowing that I needed to quit my job the next day. So it was very sudden, and I did that, and then basically booked a trip to South America straight away. So I picked South America because I hadn't been there before, and I just knew that I needed to change my routines and my patterns and be in nature and be in a completely fresh environment, and then just leave things open to, I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew it was just something different. And so I landed in Brazil, and I was off the coast of Rio, an island called Florianopolis, and it's a beautiful island. It's got gorgeous beaches, and straight away I noticed there was these mosaic arts popping up everywhere, and they were on the bins, the lamppost, the floor. So I made it my mission to find the person responsible for making these mosaics, and it was a woman called Liz Onder, and she had this project called Wall to Wall Love, and she was basically bringing all kinds of people together, different ages, different backgrounds, and the mission was to create art on the street and just make people smile as they walked by. So it was very simple and it was very beautiful, and I straight away got involved with her and started, gave the project some new life. And every day we'd wake up at sunrise, we'd smash up these mosaic tiles and make this art on the street and alongside graffiti artists. And it was the happiest I'd been in years. And, the days went by and turned to weeks, and it was just this beautiful experience. And it didn't fully sink in at that point that I was an artist. I just thought I'd had a really beautiful experience. And then I went on with the rest of my trip through South America, and I found that it was when I got to Peru and I was deep in the Peruvian Amazon. 3 months later, I'd gone all over, I'd been in Bolivia and doing organic farming, and I'd partied in Argentina, and I'd gone through all these different stages of my trip. And then it was when I was deep in the Peruvian Amazon, I'd started meditating, and I did a 7-day fast. And this is when I met some shamans, and I took part in some ceremonies deep in the jungle. And at that point, that's when I had the epiphany that I was an artist. And it was a very intense, inner, deep knowing. And so then at that point, that was when my life completely changed, and I knew my true soul path. And so, and then it's been, 7.5 years since then.
So what did you do so you had the epiphany, you're deep in the jungle. So what was the next thing that you did to then really act on that?
I'd basically only had an experience of mosaics through the street art project. And I did get an A for GCSE art at 16, but I hadn't done anything until I was 28, and I was in the street art project. So I just basically researched where's the best place to study mosaics in the world, and it was Venice. So I remember being in Colombia, taking a couple of weeks in Colombia at the end to just let everything I'd learned kind of sink in and prepare myself for getting back to my old reality, which would be a refreshed version of that, but going into my old spaces. And I got my first tattoo on my finger of this little heart, and it was because the first piece of art I made was this smashed up mosaic heart. So it was to remind me that when I got back and I was in the craziness of London life and, the potential distractions, the fun distractions that I should remember the potential, all the happiness that I get from creating. And so basically when I was in Colombia, I was just letting everything absorb in, and that's when I started researching, and I found that this course in Venice to study mosaics, a short course, and so I came back to London for about a week to kind of, I don't know why I came back. I guess I just needed to come back. But then I realised I had to leave immediately, and I went to do this course in Venice. And I'd actually spent like all my money in South America. And I didn't have I had just enough money to pay for the course, but I didn't have enough money to book accommodation or do anything else. So I remember I actually did I went on this website sofasurfing.com and crashed on a stranger's couch so that I could do the course. And then just came back and announced it with absolute passion, determination and pure truth that I am an artist without having any art to show off myself. So that was 7.5 years ago.
And how did people receive that? Suddenly you've been on a trip to far-flung places, you've come back and, you've given yourself this new job title.
Yeah, I think people were just like, okay, cool. Yeah.
Excellent.
I didn't have anyone say,
supportive.
Yeah, I didn't have anyone say, what are you thinking, Because the thing is, I knew, but in my early life, I didn't think art was a possibility because I thought that you had to be from a wealthy family or have some God-given talent, that it was just for special people. But then, it took all this kind of soul-searching and exploration and adventure and travel to come to my own kind of realizations that anybody can be an artist, and actually we're all artists. I believe that we all have this innate creativity, but we don't all have that opportunity to express it. And sometimes we, teachers, parents, people around us, society, we have these views of what's acceptable and what we were expected to do, but fuck all of that. It's just if you feel the creative urge, you must express it.
No, I agree. So you call yourself a multidisciplinary artist, and I know you've sort of worked through various media, but what were you doing at the very beginning then?
I'm basically expressing whatever is on my mind. My thoughts and feelings are expressed through my artwork. So at the time when I first started, I was processing my nana passing away, and I was trying to come to terms with death in a really positive way. So I started to explore all different kinds of cultures, ways of dealing and accepting death. And I really liked the Mexican Day of the Dead and how positive it was and colourful, and it was this celebration of life and the passing of life. So I really focused on that, and then I made this collection of human and animal skulls because I feel very connected to animals. And it was an interesting time. So my first collection of art is called The Enchanted Afterlife, and it's a collection of human and animal skulls that are painted and decorated in really bright, vibrant colours and lots of mosaics and embellishment. And it was basically, my thoughts and feelings were expressed in my artwork. So at that time, I made that collection because I was trying to process death and really come to terms with it in a really positive way. So I looked at all these different cultures and how they deal with death, and I really resonated with how the Mexican Day of the Dead had this really positive outlook. And so I'd been making skulls for about 8 months, and then the Alexander McQueen brought out this skull scarf, which was super popular in fashion, and basically Vogue got hold of it and this whole skull concept, and they called me the Queen of Skulls because the timing just happened. It just happened to be that I'd already been making them for some time. And also one of the early things that happened was I'd put on my own exhibition in the basement of a pub, but I'd kind of gone to town on it and blacked out the whole of the basement, and I had my name in neon, and I had cupcakes with skulls on them, and I was presenting this first collection of artworks. And because I've got this marketing kind of background, I kind of knew how to. I spent half my time PRing the event and half my time making the work, and I made it all within about 3 months. And so it was really I was working for sometimes I'd work for 18 hours a day. I was just obsessed with this, this new collection I was making. And I released it, but I'd put myself as a skull artist, that's what I'd boxed myself as at the time. And Damien Hirst was showing at the Tate Modern, and he, with his huge retrospective and releasing, For the Love of God, the crystal skull. And so the Tate curators had seen my kind of press go out, and they were interested in this new skull artist. So they came to my basement pub exhibition, and then I did a speech and everything, and they liked what I was doing, so they invited me into Tate Modern to do an installation in response to Damien Hirst's work. And then I always optimise every situation, and that was an amazing opportunity. So then I put forward ideas to do an installation, workshop, an art talk, an exhibition, everything, and they were really happy and they let me go wild with it. So it was like my second exhibition ended up being at the Tate Modern.
How incredible is that?
Yeah, it was really cool. And then that went really well and they had good feedback. So then a year later, the Tate Britain invited me to do an installation there. And then 1 or 2 years after that, I did an installation at the V&A. So I really want to do like the Science Museum next. That would be cool. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Didn't realise you'd had quite that many workshops actually at the bigger museums.
It's really fun to engage with the public and get everybody involved, yeah.
Do you do workshops anywhere else?
Yeah, people ask me to do workshops, yeah, and I do it sometimes. And what I like doing is art talks and creativity talks and, unleashing creativity, because I feel that after having over 7 years experience of making it in the art world, and, those first few years were a real struggle, and then there's a lot of challenges and a lot of learning, and so now I think it's really nice to be able to share what I've learned and inspire other people. I want to get as many people as possible to be creative. So yeah, I'm enjoying doing the art talks.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. What were you doing at the V&A?
Do you know what? It was an exhibition called What is Luxury? And I'd just done a project for a sheikh in Qatar who was the friend of the king. He commissioned me to do a crystal grand piano with 500,000 crystals on it, as a baby Steinway grand piano. And I just finished this huge crystal project, and it took me a really long time, and it was it was an epic project. And because they had this What is Luxury exhibition, and they were looking for people to do installations and workshops around that kind of topic, they came to me and to potentially do something around crystals. And I was like, if I see another crystal, it's just too much. I couldn't possibly look at a crystal at that point after 500,000 crystals. My whole studio floor was just glistening with crystals. There was thousands of pounds on the floor. But I just needed a break from crystals after that point. So I came up with this concept to do a whole gold theme. So I actually had this gold goddess, and I placed her amongst the old statues in the V&A. It was really amazing. And then it was a whole gold themed concept for that particular installation. I ended up doing my first performing art piece, which I've never done again, but it was really fun. Wow. It was just kind of happened. So that was really cool. And then, but going back to the crystals though, the piano happened because of a project that I did with Save Wild Tigers charity, because I've been an ambassador for them for the last 5 years now. And they came to me and we had this connection over a love of tigers. And so we made a proposal to create a life-size tiger head with thousands and thousands of Swarovski crystals. And I ended up making a few pieces for the charity. We sold one of them. The last one, it was in Singapore, and we did a big, huge, amazing gala dinner. And I stood up and did a speech in front of the Sultana of Malaysia and 650 people at the gala dinner. And the piece went for £30,000, which was great. So I've raised £55,000 for Save Wild Tigers charity now. I've got a goal to raise 100,000 for charity. So I'm at about 62,000 now. I've done some stuff for Help Refugees and Mel's a charity and some peace charities. And I'm really interested in working with some conservation charities next. So I've got this idea about, I can't tell you about it actually. I'm going to release it in a few months. So yeah, but it's a conservation charity that I'm going to start working with really closely to, can't say, annoyingly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from crystals to neon, because that's what you're quite well known for, the neon work.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So I've been working with neon for about 6.5 years. So about a year after I started being an artist, and I went out of London to do neon making courses and bending and blowing the glass, and then so that I could get a feel for the this type of artwork, and it's quite addictive, you know. It's like the neon glow is it's a really like wondrous kind of magical feeling when you turn it on. So yeah, I really love this medium because a lot of my themes of work are about like positivity, and like my neon text is like my life mantras, like everything is going to be fucking amazing, and today is going to be fucking epic, and together we will burn brighter. They're about like uplifting people, and so yeah, they're really fun pieces. And then more recently, in the last couple of years, I've been working on this series of work called The Colour of Energy. And basically it's about how it's scientifically proven that the heart has an electromagnetic field that's several feet away from the body, and it's proven to be 60 times greater than the brainwaves recorded on an ECG. So, you know, we have this heart energy, and what I wanted to do is visually interpret this unseen energy. So I started to look at the 7 chakras in the body as I was like meditating more and more. And as everything is energy, everything has a frequency. So I listened to the sound frequencies of these 7 chakras, and then I meditated on that and really went like deep into visualizing what the colors look like of this energy, and then came up with my own version of the 7 chakras. So typically the heart chakra in Eastern philosophy is green, but when I tuned in and listened to the sounds and felt the vibrations, I could feel that the colours were, you know, there was green for sure, but I was seeing like turquoise, blue teal, kind of different shades of blue. I even saw some pink, and so I've come up with like my versions of these colours of energy, and then mixing that with on these huge big canvas where you have a lot of like dark space, and adding the neon light with this glowing, undulating glow. So the idea is you breathe in time with the neon coming on and off these circular neon rings, and then the diamond dust in the middle means that, you know, there's all of this kind of like, it looks like the movement and the vibration when the light hits it. And so that's been my more like kind of recent works, really visualizing energy.
Oh my god.
Thank you. That's
so nice.
That's a nice response.
So on a work like that, is your intention for people to sort of stand in front of the artwork and really engage with it, you know, in time with breath and all of that?
Definitely, yeah, 100%. And, you know, it's interesting because people will look at the 7 chakras and they'll be particularly drawn to one, and sometimes it is the one that they need to like open up, or they need to work on. Like they might be drawn to the throat chakra, and they might need to tune into their communication channels more, or the heart chakra, which is about love and creativity, or the crown chakra, which is about transcendence and, you know, meditation. And so it's interesting to see which colours they're drawn to, and then which things they need to kind of like enhance in their lives. So my intention is that, and I'm kind of like, I'm Reiki 2 trained, but I don't really practice so much, but I just kind of have this like interest in spirituality, and I've travelled all over the world and been to different gurus, and I've learned a lot, and I do Kundalini yoga. I'm very open and receptive to all of this kind of knowledge. And my intention, you know, I've created these artworks in this very spiritual kind of place, and and put this energy into it. And my intention is that they look at the artwork, and then when they buy the piece, I send the soundscape of what I listened to at the time of creating it. And my intention is that they, you know, every now and then put on the soundscape and like tune in and just have a moment of peace. And if it's the neon version of it, then they breathe in time with the neon slowly going on and off, because it's set to a meditative breath, so that they can time it like that. And so yeah, my intention is that my art uplifts people and brings positivity and happiness. Yeah.
So really interesting kind of way of engaging as well with the artwork, isn't it? Like you're really sort of communing with it as well. I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
Where have you shown them? Have you shown them anywhere all together?
Yeah, I showed them at Tate Gallery in September for the Start Art Fair, and it was really, it went down amazing. It was such a good show. And then I've just recently been showing them at Maddox Gallery.
Other than Maddox, which galleries are you showing with?
Yeah, so I'm showing with Maddox in London, and I'm also with Box Galleries in Chelsea, and Hang Up Gallery in East London, and in Switzerland with Laurent Martheler Gallery, and also Art Angels in LA.
And then are you showing at fairs as well?
Yeah. So I actually did so many events last year. I did like 22 events. So some of them art fairs, group exhibitions, and 3 solo shows at the end of the year. So it was kind of too much. It was exhausting. So now I'm kind of being really focused about where I put my energy, and spending more time making the works and trying to do like less shows but the right ones.
Okay. And most recently you've been working with books. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so this collection is called The Immensity of the Universe, and I spent a long time sourcing these very special books, and the books are about philosophy, physics, chemistry, dictionaries and history books, and they're all kind of really old and quite thick. But I gathered these books, and then I hired a pyrotechnics team in Somerset, and by moonlight, by a forest, we physically exploded the books using like explosives from the film industry and gunpowder and all sorts, and we literally like detonated them and like blew them up, and it was about and completely destroyed them, and then I kind of put them back together a bit in the studio, and then burnt them a bit more, and set them on fire a bit more, and then grew crystals on them and kind of altered them, and then presented them as this collection. And basically it was about the intriguing beauty that's born from chaos and destruction. So going back to this inspiration from the Big Bang, and how this explosive nature has produced, everything that we have today, and it kind of being like it's the beginning, the Big Bang being like the beginning of time, and telling the story of that, and then looking at these books and exploding them. It was the most fun project I've ever done, and it's interesting body of work because it's my first works that are kind of not like typically beautiful. They're very like destructed and destroyed and burnt, and it's a very different collection for me. But it's with my work, I'm like, as a multidisciplinary artist, I'm kind of obsessed with like textures and shapes and forms and different materials and objects as well. I feel really like drawn and attached to these books.
Is it an ongoing body of work, that one?
Yeah, it's a new body of work, and I definitely want to keep exploring it. But I feel so attached to each one that I don't want to sell them, but I am selling them, and they do sell. I sold them at the Tate Gallery in September, but I can't remake them. Every single one is so unique. I can't remake that explosion, and I can't re-find that really old book from 100 years ago. So yeah, it's each one is just so different.
Did you know that's what you were going to do with them when you first found the books?
Yeah, I knew I was going to blow them up and explode them. Yeah.
And that's led on to dark matter.
This dark matter is part of the same kind of inspiration, basically. So dark matter it's this huge, big black canvas with this kind of space like glow around it, and then this huge black circle in the middle of the black diamond dust, and then the neon ring, but all blacked out. And it's basically, it looks very kind of like eclipsed, planetary space vibes. And it's inspired by when I started reading about the Hubble telescope and how the scientists looked at this area of space that was the size of a thumbnail with your arm stretched out, and when they looked in through the Hubble telescope, it was revealed in this area of space that was seemingly unremarkable, and it's called dark matter, which is this unknown kind of territory, which is 85% of the universe is this dark matter. And they found in a thumbnail size, they found 100 billion galaxies. So it's just like outrageous amounts of like potential for like, there's just infinite potential of galaxies and universes, and and then they looked again and they found double that and then 10 times that, and it's just, it's just basically the pieces about how, we think we know our reality, and then when we really delve deeper, there's just infinite potential.
I love how the ideas in your work meet at the intersection of the spiritual wisdoms and then research-based science.
Yeah. And it's interesting, with science, how science is like a proven, like, tests and experiments of like, okay, we know this is true. But then it's so interesting when the scientists reveal that there's all of this unknown. And that's what I'm really interested in. It's like the unknown, it's the metaphysical. So it's everything that we can't see, and that's what I studied when recently I went to Guatemala I was only going to go there for like 5 days, and I ended up there for 2.5 months because I joined something called the Moon Course, staying at Las Pyramids, which was basically like a month of studying metaphysics and yoga and some fasting and some silence and some really interesting developments.
Do you spend quite a bit of each year travelling?
Yeah, that's where I get my inspiration for sure. My favourite time is when I'm on an aeroplane and for ideas, because I'm just in this like timeless space where I'm uncontactable, and that's when I just like really like being really high and being amongst the clouds and having this new fresh perspective. Like I call it blue sky thinking. And that's when I have my best ideas, when I'm like in between, I'm like nationless, and I'm just like, that's when I'm really like flowing creatively. And then also when I just tune out of the everyday, when I get to my destination. And I also really like booking like one-way trips so that I just feel really free. That's the thing I value most of all is my freedom. So I like it when trips just evolve, and I'm looking for new inspiration and learning new things and just growing.
Oh, fantastic. Right, Lauren, where can people find you online?
So I'm on Instagram, Lauren Baker Art, and I'm on Facebook, same thing. And then my website is laurenbakerart.com.
Brilliant. I will add all of that in the show notes. Thanks so much for spending time with me today.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
The Curator's Salon hopes you enjoyed this production.